again, I put the needle down where the pin was up against the outer edge, and I'm going to go straight down about a half inch and then go about a half inch using this middle pin as a guide across, and then up and then down. And if your stitch lines get bunchy like this, in case it gets a little bunchy, just take your seam ripper and just loosen one stitch and then it'll lay flat. You could do that because these are just used as guidelines. And again, I should have used contrasting thread, but I did not. Here I am thinking about, oh, aesthetic, but it's like, well, dogs are peeing in this, why, you know? So I'm sorry if I didn't use contrasting thread. Okay, we're gonna go from the back side of the cotton bamboo fleece here. You see where the circle stitch mark is? I just poked my hole. You could use embroidery scissors or pointy scissors like this. I just poked in, cut out my inner circle, and then just wherever you sew tension, as you can see within your thread, you know, okay, maybe that's a point where you want to snip into. But I used my thumb as a guide, like the thickness of my thumb, and 1/4 inch, 8 inch, going all the way around. And then when I do the holes, I'm going to fold these under and then straight stitch over them again, with the flaps going in on the back side. So you're going to turn them to the other side. And sorry about this, I'm doing with this one hand. You're going to, if you want to use pins, you can, but fold them in and pin as you go and just go all the way around like that. Okay, I'm going to show you a trick later on, but it's a little messy. But what you can do, and you won't do this until towards the end, when you join the two panels, the inner lining here and the outer fabric, you're going to leave an opening, of course, to turn the whole piece out. But after you're done pinning them and sewing them together, of course, you're going to make your snips around all your curves before sewing them together. When you turn the piece out after you're done, then you're going to line your hole, your edges. You're going to straight stitch around, and then you can use a zigzag stitch around it maybe 2-3 times to give it that nice finished look. And then maybe turn under these little bits here, and then it won't fray. And that's for the tail hole. But you won't do that until after you turn your two panels sewn together out. I almost forgot, we gotta add the Velcro to your inner lining. We're going to use the softer loop, the softer, fuzzier kind. We're going to take those tabs and put them, just align them inside your stitch lines, and you're going to go all the way around them with a straight stitch, and then you're going to zigzag stitch about 3 or 4 times around that. So you're going to catch the outer edge, and you're going to do it that way. So you're straight stitch close to the edge, and then zigzag stitch catching both the hook and loop to the fabric. And you do that for here, and you'll do that for both sides of the wings, so to speak. And then we'll do the elastic, and then we'll move on to the red panel, to the outer fabric. So I did this end, as you can see. I zigzag stitched a bit over the tip near the inside of the box edge there. And then I'm going to do that here. I'm going to put the needle down, remove the pin, and zigzag stitch a bit, just about a half inch, boop, 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 and then back. And then I'll do that for all the other elastic. I'll do it for the other vertical side, and then I'll do it for the part that goes under the belly part where the wings are, where the Velcro tabs are. So we have the elastic on. All we did was, this could have been better. I should have done it right here towards the edge, but you get the understanding. You want it close within the edge, and just grabbing the tips of the elastic within the box area, and you do that for all of them. But this will go in, and you may want it when you join them, when you turn the two pieces sewn together out and you join them, you're going to be sewing around this way and then around around the outer edges. You're going to leave the sides open, leave this top opening, and you're going to leave these till the end, and the sides as well. You're going to leave this to the end. You don't join them together until after the pieces turn out, and don't forget to snip your curves. So let's move on to the red piece, to the outer fabric. Now we're going to join the panels. I did a shortcut and basically did the same thing I did with the inner lining on the outer ripstop nylon fabric. Only thing is that I didn't add elastic because it's already on the inner lining, and I add the tabs down here. So when the wings, if you will, that come up from the stomach and then up to the back, they'll attach. And so we have the harsh or the rough hook Velcro on the outer fabric. Within, I made the stitch line. I did the stitch line around the outer fabric. I did my little box elastic pocket panel stitching. And I did it on the side here, as you can see, on the angle, using the presser foot as a spacing guide. And then around here, I marked my spots for where to put the Velcro, where to do the hole, and then I snipped out the center with a pointy scissors, snipped my curves, and so on and so on. Folded them back, did close to the edge, folding them under. Made sure I did with the rough loop, with the rough hook, part of the hook and loop Velcro, I would zigzag stitch at least 4 times, because this particular, something about the hook part of hook and loop, if you don't really stitch it on, I did, the zigzag stitch about 4 times and catch the outer edge, it'll, for some reason, I don't know, it falls off. So it loosens up from after washing. So get those outer edges to the fabric. Make sure you don't feel too much roughness, and do zigzag stitch at least 4 times on the hook, the rough Velcro that goes on the outside fabric. Okay, so now we're going to join the patterns. We're going to join the panels. We're going to join the inner lining to the front panel. And what you're going to do is you're going to line up all your stitches. You're going to take the outermost curve points, your most extreme points, and we're going to pin around here to the elastic line. We'll stop and leave openings on the sides. And then I'm going to I'm going to pin the panels from the elastic box edge, where the elastic starts and stops, go all the way around to the next one. And I'll do that for the other wing, and go from there all the way around to the next one. And don't forget to snip into your curve. Snip your curves, inner and outer, all the way around, about 1/4 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch, all the way around, inner and outer. And when we're done, make sure to leave an opening here. Make sure to leave an opening here. Make sure you'll have a little opening here. And your holes will not be sewn together until after the piece is sewn out. Again, don't forget to snip your curves all the way around. You don't have to do it on the straight edges, but you do around the curve. So that way, when you turn it out, the curves will lay flat. Okay, so I started pinning, and I'm going to start here. Do not forget, please, face the panels front sides facing in. So you'll see the whole snipping in case you forget. Okay, here's my little circle seam allowance. It should be facing out. So your back sides of your fabrics should be facing out. Your panels should face each other, front sides facing in, because when you turn it out, it's like a church in a steeple, open inside, you get all the people, that kind of thing. So that's the best way to remember, your seam allowances and things, that outside should be inside and vice versa. So, okay, so I took my most extreme areas and I'm pinning, and then I'm feeling them to make sure it lines, and then I'm going to pin inward And then I'll do that around the wings, and I'll show you in a few. Okay, let me stop this. Okay, now this is tricky. So I showed you what I was doing. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my most extreme points and pinning them together. And then what I'm doing is I'm pinning from one, I'm flattening it out with my fingers, kind of pushing it out, stretching it out, and then pressing with my fingers, and then I'm joining the line. So here I got that edge, and then I meet it up on the other side, and it should meet up with the other stitch line and lay flat. So that's how I do it. Okay, so I'm finishing at the end here where the box, where the beginning of the elastic pocket panel starts, where I attached the elastic on the inner lining. Okay, can I get it where you should see it? Okay, can you see that? Ay. It's hard. And sometimes you can just feel, wait, I got this upside down, I'm sorry. Anyway, you could feel it with your seams, like you could feel the stitch line with your fingers. And if it doesn't align on the other side, just kind of pull it out and readjust and make sure it goes through and near the line. And there you go. Okay, now that we have the side that lays on the Yorkie's back, the small dog's back, where the tail is, just make sure that these look like they align, and just play with your fingers and pressing it out, making sure everything lays flat. And now we're going to do the other side. And what I'll do, of course, make sure it lays flat. That's important. And hard to do this when you're holding a camera. That's why I want to get one of those document ones. And what I'm going to do is, you see that this line, I'm going to take the most extreme points here and pin that here and there and there, and basically work my way down to where the elastic pockets start and stop, and over to here where that elastic pocket starts and stops. And again, use your fingers, feel. If it doesn't look right, doesn't feel right, readjust it. No problem. It's always better to do it in the prep. Okay, so I got one wing down, and it just works itself. You can add some pins on here and over here if you want, but they matched up. I felt them. I felt from my other fingers underneath. I felt from the other side. I said, okay, it looks like it feels like it's right. I turned it over. I said, oh, it went right through the stitch line and right here, and I knew it worked. So now I'm working my way. I go again. We're going from extreme curve points and working our way inward. So I did the one wing, and now I'm going to work my way around the curve back to here. So I said, all right, I found where the elastic box corner was stitched here, and I'm going to align it, and it looks like it was aligned to, again, it's hard to show because I'm using my other hand. I'm going to pin it through right here. You see that where that line is? I'm going to pin it right there, and it'll go through like that. Also, don't forget to cut away some of these excess threads hanging around, because sometimes that can it'll get in your way of seeing, oh, where's my spot where I need to pin, you know? Please trim that stuff too as you're going. That way it's cleaner and easier to read, if you will, where you're pinning your spots together. We're almost done. We're joining the patterns to the panels together. Front sides facing each other. We're pinned and leaving a space here and here. Not sewing that. Sewing around to the elastic, where the elastic tips were sewn. And we're going to do that. We're going to sew it, straight stitch sew. Follow your stitch lines and you'll be fine. So just go over those stitch lines all the way around up until where you need to stop, and which is there. And then do this side to here, go around here to here. Snip your curves all around. I'll show you that after we're done, and then we'll turn it inside out and we'll finish it. So this is what the snipping should, oops, I forgot to do this side. This is what most of the snipping, curve snipping should look like. Wherever it looked like there was like a little buckle, that's where I snipped. So I used the thickness of my thumb for that. And I went around and I snipped and I trimmed the excess away, and I did that around here. I even snipped around here. I said, oh, if I saw some kind of like that, I snipped right into it kind of thing. Close to the stitch line, but not into it. And around. And now I'm going to snip that. Then I'm going to turn it out, and we're going to sew the hole shut, and we're going to put the elastic, we'll situate the elastic and sew the opening shut, and then we're going to go around the outer edge with a finished stitch line. Okay, so now we have the piece pinned together. We have the hole pinned, and we have the outside pinned all the way around. Okay, Okay, so now we're getting down to the final stages, and what we're going to do is, I just want to let you know, there is a little change. I took out the elastic pieces because I was putting this together so fast. I had forgot that you need to put the elastic on the back side of whatever panel you're going to use, whether you do it on the on the lining or on the outer fabric. Put the elastic, tack it, sew it on each end, have it on the back side, not the top, not the front. Okay, so I took out the elastic pieces, and roughly I'm gonna say you want your elastic about maybe 5/8 to 3/4 of the length of the elastic pocket. So I have 2 6-inch pieces for the vertical long sides, and I have 2-inch for the smaller 3.5 inch roughly that goes under the belly with the wings. So what we're going to do is we're going to sew all around the edge and leave from here to here, leave it open. Okay, then we're going to put in the elastic in here, make the pocket around it to sew it shut. Around here, make the pocket for it to sew shut, and it'll bunch together, so you're gonna have to stretch it as you sew, leaving this last. Then we'll do this. Okay, so we have sewn all the way around the outer edge, and we can go back later. We're leaving this open, okay, for the elastic. We're also putting the elastic here and there too. But before we put in the elastic, I want to do the circle hole for the tail. And if you notice, you say, geez, it's white. How come it's not red? I decided I was going to use red top thread and white bobbin thread and sew it from this side. Okay, so we left this open. If you wanted to do the optional stretch nylon pad, which you would find in with swimwear, that stretchy white, or kind of looks like dancewear, like sleeve lining, like it looks like pad lining really. What you would do is you would have a piece slightly, I'd have it from here to here, and I would have enough to fold in the edges 1/4 inch twice, and then sew them down to the lining panel. Keep your sides open, but have enough to tuck in when you do the seam allowance. Then after you go around this way, I would then go back and fold this under, put the elastic in on this side, fold it under twice and sew it. And then you'd have that side tucked in, and then you would tuck in the other side and sew that shut. You would keep this open, but sew the edges shut. And believe it or not, this bamboo fleece organic cotton does not fray, so that's a plus, but that's optional. We're going to do the tail hole. Okay, so if you see, I did a straight stitch going all around close to the edge of the circle, and now what we're going to do is we're going to do a zigzag stitch. It's kind of like serging it when you use a zigzag stitch. I did on my machine, we did a a 5 width and a 2 length. You can knock it down to 1.5 because of the thickness. I've gone down to a 1 length, but you could do between 1.5 and 2, and then go around it a couple of times, at least 2 to 3, possibly 4 times. And then that way the hole will be secure, like how you did it with the Velcro. Straight stitch around, then catch it with the zigzag 3 to 4 times around. That's what we're gonna do. Okay, so here is the diaper on the dog, the female diaper for female diapers in heat. This is on my Fifi plushie. I got this because it was about the same size of a Yorkie. So, and here we have the tail. I went over this with red thread for both the front and back. I changed out the bobbin thread, and I made it so that it's red. And I did a zigzag stitch twice around the edge just to cover over a little neater kind of thing. So there you go. There is your female dog diaper. And you may want to adjust the elastic. You may want to use less or add more, depends. But actually less, but maybe about 1/2 inch less maybe. It depends on your dog's size. So there you go. Thank you very much.